All right, I'm back. This is exciting. I'm back with Christian letters. Finally, after getting all those flea market videos that literally about five people got and a little pile of dust saw, at least on YouTube, and bet you they got more views, but at least on YouTube, I can finally move out of the way. I'm actually very satisfied with them anyways, and I will continue to do them again eventually when the cycle restarts all over again. Yeah, the cycle. So, 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 yeah, I bet nobody's excited for that except for me, which makes it enough for me to keep making them. So, yeah, deal with it. No, but in all seriousness, you see, that is why I never put any of the subscribe to my channel, ring the notification bell, and give a like, comment, and whatever. My content is eclectic as fuck. I only do this because this is an excellent way to kill stress and just keep myself entertained. So that is why I just do whatever eclectic shit I feel like doing. The downside of that is that I know that I am not going to be able to satisfy people all the time. Like, for example, I know that if some people subscribe to my channel, I know that whenever I upload videos about Christian, everything starts to go up. As soon as I upload Christian content, motherfuckers start gathering around, and I get the views go up. There's a couple of subscribers in there and shit. As that is so pretty cool and all, but if I keep doing that all the time, and nothing else, I'm gonna get bored. So that's why I don't tell people to subscribe. I'm gonna keep making more Christian shit, but I have to think of something that the people that are following this content of mine can find fresh and interesting to watch, and not just like exactly the same thing they have already seen before. It needs to be interesting for me and everybody else watching something different, like body language, for example. Ooh. If it's not like that, then there's no point. So, not wasting any more time, let's go. So we find this is just the seal. Okay, I'm getting excited. I'm getting all pumped. Okay, we start with the envelope and let's see what we can pull off. My goal is to find something new that we didn't see in the previous letter. He's been in jail for like some time now when he made this other letter, October 6th, 2022. Okay, so that means that probably something changed. Maybe he's experiencing something new, and that is being reflected on the letter. So I haven't read the letter. I haven't seen any other content of other people reading the letter, so I really don't know what's happening here. As soon as I started making Christian content, I stopped watching other people. Just, I don't know why. So there is his signature right there. As I told in the previous letter, the signature and the handwriting are two different things. Your signature is your public image. You create your signature. So that means that you make your signature the way you want people to perceive you. The person that we see on your signature doesn't mean that it's disingenuous. It just means that it's more calculated. It's just like when you present yourself in public, even when you're being yourself, there's some things that you don't do in public. You know what I mean? That's exactly the difference between handwriting, regular handwriting, and signature. So, as I said in the previous letter, we can see that Christian's handwriting right there reveals that he's actually an artistic person, conservative, surprisingly conservative, which is not really when you think about it, because, yeah, Christian is the definition of crazy modern liberal, yeah, but in his heart, all he wants in life is a cozy, easygoing domestic life when you really think about it. All he wants is like his boyfriend-free girl, his daughter Christine, yeah, Christine, and just like baking cookies and all that type of shit. So that is being conservative. That is a very normie type of thing, and that is what he reflects in his letter, in his signature. Also, he's less defined as a public image, as a public person. The pretty much the character of Christian, he is not as defined as I think he is. He doesn't really know what, he's not sure of how he is as Christian, the character. His letters, when he writes his signature, are more doodly, less readable. He's less defined. He doesn't really know, which makes sense when you think about it. He's all like, for example, he's all phony, transsexual, like gimmick. Well, if you know Christian, you know everything to know about how he really has conflict to even know who or what he is. And you can see that there in the signature because right below you see his regular handwriting, and it's very readable and defined. Every letter is really defined. His signature reflects that he has a very active imagination. His bubble, whenever you write the patterns of the oval patterns in letters, oval patterns psychologically represent your imagination, your mind. And you can see that the oval shapes in, for example, the O represent your ego that is in your mind. Very has a big ego. Whenever he writes his O's, they're very round and big, and the rest of the oval shapes are very rounded and inflated ego right there. The signature writing, very rushed, cursive, not patient. Listen to this. Christian, the character, doesn't care that much about people. He only cares about himself. No shit when you really know Christian, but here's how you can see it here in his signature. So, as I have said previously in other videos, the way you write letters psychologically represent the way you treat people and things. So, for example, somebody who writes very detailed letters, very well defined, who takes his time to write a very nice letter, reflects somebody who really cares what other people think about them. And usually that can also, based on other characteristics of your handwriting, can represent somebody very empathic and somebody who really cares about other people. Not always, but you have to read the rest of the everything else, and you can define that. Opposite to what happens when people barely make any effort to write letters. And you can see that maybe Chris, the real Chris, he cares about people, but Christian, the thing that he has become, that character that he has made himself to be, doesn't care about people. His handwriting is all like sloppy. That is how Christian, the character, treats people. All sloppy and carelessly. Again, I didn't say anything new there really. It's just that that very known characteristic of him can be seen in that particular aspect. Also, his signature is very well, the line of his signature is very straight. I don't know if that's simply because it's closer to the edge of the paper and that helped him write more straight or what, but that could also be a factor there. But for example, below with the address, oh yeah, before I move on with the letter, again, all the adornments, the little doodles, the little drawings are in his signature, again, represent his artistic side, and the little swirls that he writes in the C, W, and in the S represent people that think too much. Those swirls represent, again, conservative people who go around the subject sometimes a little bit too much when they think about something. Okay, moving on to the rest. We see that below, we see his actual handwriting, not his signature, his actual handwriting, and you can see how much he changes. The typical thing that I have said in pretty much every single video, his emotional instability, his change of mood being high and low represented here with his writing going up and down throughout the entire line. You can see it there. It's pretty much a classic thing now. It makes perfect sense that it never changes, but it keeps doing it. We see the self-harm indicative in the O of orange. Here's a tricky one. Whenever somebody who's into graphology says self-harm doesn't necessarily means in the literal thing of cutting yourself or physically harming yourself. The self-harm indicative can mean a huge, wide variety of things. For example, psychologically, even smoking or drinking can be considered self-harming behavior. Being too overly critical of yourself, having low self-esteem, even being too perfectionist can be considered psychologically self-harm. Anything that is being overly demanding or just hard on your own person or simply damaging somehow on yourself. And when you see, again, as I said, the oval shapes on letters, especially the O, for example, represent yourself. And whenever you leave like little claws, though, those claw shapes that a lot of people leave, even I do that, and I know why. I have been on a lot of depressive states throughout my entire life, but more than that, I am demanding upon myself. I always try to make the best that I can be, and I'm very critical and demanding on myself. And I write that pattern there, so you can see that it doesn't always mean necessarily that it's literally that you cut yourself or something like that. This is something that's very natural and expected whenever you write an address. You can tell that he didn't really know, he wasn't really sure of the address because he doubted a lot. You can see a lot of shakiness when he wrote that address. You can see that in the O and the 6 he doubted exactly what to write, and he corrected there. He did like one letter and then he transformed it to something else. I mean, that is to be expected. You can't really, at least I wouldn't like judge him too much for that because he was doubting. You can see the other type of claw shape that you see in the V, for example. That type of claw there, that whenever you draw something like that, that usually reflects you clinging to like the past, of negative ideas, of things like that. Very clingy to people, just like attaching yourself like an anchor to things. That reflects that. There is many other things that I'm living out. One, because I think that I'm going already really long, and also because, as I always put in the beginning of the videos, I'm not a professional, and there are some things that escape me. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I kind of forget. We're gonna see the same patterns over and over again, so I'm gonna have time to say those things eventually. Just one more little detail on the Kenneth E. Engelhardt. You see what I said when with the oval shaped patterns? The oval shaped patterns on the L, H, T of Christian Weston Chandler Sonichu are like really, really inflated. He's representing himself, that because he's doing his signature there and he represents himself and he's their ego on those patterns that are very inflated. Look at the difference on the Engelhardt, on the D, right there. You see it? It's the same pattern, but it's all skinny. You see the difference there? It's like there's nothing there. He that doesn't mean anything to him, and he basically does just a line instead of just very inflated. That is the name of somebody else, so he doesn't care about. He doesn't give a fuck about that. Moving on to the actual letter now, and now we see something really, really interesting. I'm not sure if it's because the scan is two things that I'm noticing now, very noticeable, but I'm not sure if it's because the scanner was. I'm not sure if it's because they put the letter like sideways. No, it's not. No, the sheet was perfectly lined on the scanner. He was writing, you see, okay, there's something, this is one of those things that I said I wanted to see if there was anything new in the next letter. There's decay in this letter, in this new letter now. There is exhaustion, decay, as I said. There is simply a decreasing mood, which, I mean, he has been in jail. for some time now when he wrote that, so that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you can see that it's not that the sheet was crooked or sided when they put it in the scanner, because the arrow below is like straight, and he starts every line going straight forward, and then it just goes down. The direction your handwriting goes represents your mood. Positive, ambitious, energetic people, rushed people tend to write going up. The line tends to point upwards whenever they keep writing. The opposite happens with the opposite type of people. Uh, Depressive, tired, low energy people tend to start writing pointing downwards. No shit. You can see it here. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's only understandable, really, to like be completely honest. Again, he's been in jail, so it's perfectly understandable that he's like writing that he's so like fucking alarmingly like going down. He starts writing normally, and then the line just keeps going down and down consistently throughout the whole letter. Also, his letters are smaller, and there's less pressure than in his previous letter. I'm curious to see what he wrote here, because in the other letter he was saying all that shit about being like God and all that shit, and he was really excited, and he was really full of his own shit, and he had like huge adrenaline, because most likely what happened was that he had never, I'm guessing, this is, I'm only fucking guessing, that he had never really fully started to really dig into his delusion of being God at the level that he did. Only as soon as he got to jail, he probably did it as a self-defense mechanism, as a coping mechanism. So he started to like descend more into that type of madness. So the rush of adrenaline that you saw in the other letters when he was talking about him being God was very noticeable. He was pressing and having all those energy bursts and all that shit, and you don't see it here anymore. So I want to see what he said. Hey Kenneth, October 4th, 2021. This is the body of your and my soul partner. First burst of energy there, probably energy repression, probably even aggression. In the M of my, you see the excessive pace of ink in my on the M there, and you could see that it was specifically on my soul partner. When he wrote my, that was very personal. That made him feel more emotion, and he like made more pressure there. That is why you release more ink when you write something like that, and that you can see the pasting there, and that usually happens because people have this release of energy, of repressed energy when they write a particular letter. My soul partner. Jeez, what? Is that Jesus? I kind of suck at writing at reading cursive. Is that Jesus? Jesus Christine Western Chandler's son Chu speaking to you on her blessed behalf. Very decisive period there. Exaggerated. Incisive period. You see that it's sort of claw shaped, not like a little dot. No, it's like a claw, very incisive period that goes perfectly in tone with what he said. Speaking to you on her blessed behalf, and then he just like is more like speaking to you on her blessed behalf, and with that claw there, like it's aggressive. Actually, that period is aggressive. I know everything that Christine knows more for her experiences since. Okay, again, we see how invasive he is. He, not always, but he tends to have those bursts of invasiveness. And like you can remember how many times he just like is very grabby with girls, and he just very meddling with people, and just like, just like Christian. He just Christians all the time, and yeah, not putting spaces. I explained that in the other videos. Not leaving spaces whenever you write. It's very indicative of the fact that you are invasive. Again, letters represent people. Space represents your own relationship and how you treat people. If you're too distant, you write letters and words too separated from each other, and the other way around. Blah blah blah. Our extended separation since September 16, 2021. The comma there, super exaggerated. You see the period there? The period in 2021 is not as aggressive as on her boy's behalf. You see what I mean? She shall return for she shall return for me for the apex of our second coming. Ugh, again, he's gonna keep going with a whole like second coming, blah blah. Ugh, come on, Chris, you're annoying as fuck. For the remaining who did not yet know, those periods there, those dots there, so big, very again decisive, demanding attention. Between Christine and I, combined and divided, we are the real player one, the one avatar, I, the body, and the one God that Jesus Christ of Nazareth himself. What the fuck did he say there? I, the body, am the God that then Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I forget it. Whatever. Keep going. One thing to know is that he's more secure of the bullshit that he's saying here than his previous letter. He has had more time to think about it. No shit, because he's in jail. but yeah, he's had more time to convince himself, and he's less doubtful than he was previously. Where did I live at? The conclusion of the dimensional merge completion includes, again, more energy repression. When he said includes, you see when it makes sense, how it makes sense? Whenever you have certain bursts of energy, they always happen in certain things that you write. Includes, and he's emphasizing so much. He's thinking about what those things include, and he had that energy burst there in the E. The completion of the collective shift for the majority that are good, and those recomparable from Earth 2012-18 to Earth and 1C 21 1987 and such. And the second coming of Christine and I. Okay. What? Second coming of Christine and I. Isn't he Christine? What? Together again as you fully reawaken Lord Messiah Savior God and Judge over the. Shouldn't he be a goddess? Chris? The fuck? I mean, this asking too much. Is Chris Lord Messiah Savior God and Judge over the minority who I thought he wrote whore, the minority whore. The minority who are the toxic, darkest sinners, haters, fakers, and darkest demoniacs who shall be left behind in 12-8 earth to burn. I mean, that beats being with fucking Quickbill. We are now on Malachi 3 and 4 of the Old Testament in the Bible and such. Okay, I'm gonna leave it here. Any last thoughts? Not really, really. No, not really. You could probably read that part where he wrote darkest. Some way it's just I just think that he just forgot that and he left it. He just put it there on top of the other parts. Oh, the other words. It's funny how he didn't correct it, those letters, those words. He didn't erase those words to write a new sentence. Instead, he just wrote darkest on top of everything else. As I said in the previous letters, whenever whenever he feels emotionally connected to a word, he corrects it. Whenever he doesn't, he erases those words or letters and he writes a new word. And he didn't erase toxic darkest sinners. Instead, he just corrected, which goes perfectly in line with the fact that he feels very emotionally connected with those letters. Toxic sinners, darkest. He feels a lot of emotion when he thinks of the people that in his eyes has been very toxic. Well, people that have been very toxic to him, and that's why he doesn't erase it. He doesn't want to erase that. He has a personal connection with those words. Haters, fakers, and darkest. Any final things? He probably used. I don't know what he wrote in the next page, but you can see that he used more force because you can see it through this part of the sheet. Also, he has less energy. We found out that he has less energy. He's more tired. He's more mentally drained now in this new letter. In the time that he has spent in jail, he's also feeling less empathic. Less, yeah. His letters, which goes perfectly well with the fact that he's tired. He's less basically he cares less here. These letters are more rushed, smaller. They go down. The line goes down and shit like that. Basically, this new page here reflects exhaustion. And I hope this was entertaining, interesting, informative, whatever. Thanks. Bye.
Ataque hermano, este al mercado Hidalgo y escuche muy bien esto, porque traemos a la puerta de su casa gran preventa de boletos a solo 50 pesos.